Man, when I moved here to the North Country, I knew nothing about the antique boat culture on the St. Lawrence River. And then I got assigned to cover the Antique Boat Show in Clayton one year. Such gorgeous boats, glowing wood, gleaming fiberglass, cool metal fixtures, and the throaty rumble of the motor. So much history. I'll never forget this. We meet a guy in Clayton who's a caretaker of that history on today's Story of the Day.
Support for Story of the Day comes from Clarkson University, offering over 95 programs of study with campuses in the Hudson Valley, Central, and Northern New York. More at clarkson.edu.
Hey, I'm David Sommerstein. It's Friday, the beginning of a holiday weekend, and the last story of the day of August 30th. First up. The race for the congressional district that covers most of the North Country has been very quiet so far. Republican incumbent Elise Stefanik holds huge money and name recognition advantages. Her Democratic opponent was in Plattsburgh Tuesday night. Kara Chapman has more.
About a couple dozen people gathered in Plattsburgh Town Hall for a meeting of the Clinton County Democratic Committee. Paula Collins was there to introduce herself.
I am in this race because I could not align my democratic values and principles with the idea that Elise might go unchallenged.
Collins, a Democrat, says she's originally from Louisiana and moved to New York City in 2009. She taught special education and became a cannabis tax attorney when she retired. She says that work is what brought her to the North Country and the race against Republican Elise Stefanik. Collins says if elected, she wants to focus on women's rights, common sense border policy, and a federal plan to address climate change. She says she's tired of a Congress that isn't functional.
It is my firm belief that we have had a representative in New York 21 who is not working on behalf of the constituents, but rather is working on behalf of her own career interests.
Collins has a steep hill to climb in November. Stefanik is a popular incumbent who's handily won each of her 5 races. She's also raised about 140 times more money than Collins this election cycle. Alex DeGrasse is Stefanik's senior advisor. In a statement, he said she's delivered nearly $1 billion of federal funds to the district since taking office. As GOP conference chair, Stefanik is the 4th-ranking Republican in the House. DeGrasse says, quote, she will never apologize for giving upstate New Yorkers a seat at the highest level in Congress in over 100 years. But some Democrats say Vice President Kamala Harris's campaign has created new energy for their party. Brandy Lloyd with the Clinton County Democratic Committee says that can help candidates like Collins.
And people are excited, and that only helps us down ballot, right? So I think that things are starting to turn around. People feel way more positive, and that's just great.
The Clinton County Democrats haven't endorsed Collins. Lloyd says that vote will happen next month. Kara Chapman, North Country Public Radio, Plattsburgh.
More than 2,000 people came to see America's top bass fishermen weigh their catch at the Bassmaster Elite Tournament in Waddington last weekend. That's according to the St. Lawrence County Chamber of Commerce. Chamber Tourism and Events Manager Catherine Palaio said another several hundred people came early in the morning each day of the competition to watch the anglers take off on the St. Lawrence River. Bass fishing has become big sport and big business across the North Country, attracting fans, competitors, and vendors for regional and national competitions. Bassmaster has held its top-tier elite tournament on the St. Lawrence River and on Lake Champlain several times since 2013. Major League Fishing, another professional circuit, has also held big tournaments in both locations and announced Tuesday it'll hold a major invitational in Messina next summer. The bass fishing tournaments this summer aren't over yet. Tomorrow is the Lake Champlain International Bass Open from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Fish and Wildlife Mallets Bay Access Area. This weekend is the annual lighting of the fire towers. Dozens of historic Adirondack structures will be lit between 9 and 9:30 Sunday night. And this year, the volunteers will also pay tribute to the rangers who kept watch in the towers during the early to mid-20th century. Emily Russell spoke with Tom Ortmeyer from the Friends of Azure Mountain Fire Tower. Ortmeyer will help light that tower this Sunday night and has been involved in the event for years.
Every year is a little different. That first year, we had beautiful clear skies, great view of the Milky Way, and then we lit the tower and enjoyed that. We probably get the best view of it up on the summit. But we do see the St. Regis light in the distance. That's the only one we've been sure we can see there, and it's pretty dark out there. So we're shielded from the lights of the St. Lawrence River and the Canada. So it's quite a nice event. And then we light the fire, and then we hike out after 9:30. The tower is lit from 9 to 9:30. We hike out after that with our headlamps on and our lanterns.
That was Tom Ortmeyer from Friends of Azure Mountain Fire Tower. You can see dozens of fire towers lit up Sunday night from 9 to 9:30 at night. Antique wooden boats are a huge part of the Thousand Islands nautical heritage. A man in Clayton has developed a reputation for taking good care of them. Catherine Wheeler went for a ride with him on the St. Lawrence River.
Wooden boats are a lot like classic cars. Jeff Garnsey says they're always going to turn heads.
You can park this boat that's probably not worth more than $25,000 at a dock filled with $1 million plastic boats. And this is going to be the belle of the ball every time.
On this bright and clear summer day, Garnsey is making his way along the St. Lawrence River in his antique wooden boat, the Goat Locker. She's a 32-foot-long sea skiff made by Trojan in 1969. Garnsey's deck shoes are molded around his feet. His skin is tanned and he's relaxed behind the wooden helm. He steers between the deep and shallow sections of the St. Lawrence with ease. Garnsey says this boat, like all of his, has a special story. The Goat Locker was originally owned by a fellow Navy man who shared Garnsey's passion for wooden boats.
And when he passed away, he shared with his family previous that it would be a shame for a boat that was like new to be treated like she was new, because they're not meant to be treated like new boats. You had to find somebody else that had the same crazy passion for wooden boats.
Garnsey says it feels like a calling to make sure wooden boats and all they represent stick around. That means putting in the work and money to keep them on the water. Garnsey says he's spent hours and hours scrubbing down his boats after long days of fishing and slinging up shore dinners as a guide. He says it's just what they do here. His care for his boats is a point of pride, and other people see it. Garnsey says he's been given 2 other wooden boats because the owners couldn't take care of them anymore, and they saw his passion for them.
Knowing that your reputation is carved around the way you behave behind the wheel, the way you take care of that boat, there are worse things than being part of that conversation, knowing that you're someone that's seen as a caretaker for wooden boats. There are worse ways to be known.
Wooden boats are a part of the culture of the Thousand Islands. In Clayton, the Antique Boat Museum is dedicated to preserving this kind of cultural tradition on the St. Lawrence River. Garnsey used to teach at the museum's captain school and gave fishing lessons to kids. He says this culture has developed over generations, and it's shared among all of the people on the river.
Those islands give all these little bays and little ports all the personality that people come here for. It's not a reservoir, it's not a lake, it's a living dwelling of the people that live here and the people that cohabitate with them. There are families that have been here since Moby Dick was a minnow and the ocean was fresh water. So there's a reason that we put up with the harsh winters. It's because this is the payoff.
Garnsey says the St. Lawrence River flows through his family's history. His family's been on Grindstone Island near Clayton since 1823, 6 generations. He says he's here to take care of the river. He's a past president of Save the River, an environmental group in the Thousand Islands. And when there's been battles about development, like at Blind Bay, he's advocated against it in the name of protecting the resource. Garnsey says it's a legacy he wants to pass on to his family.
We take care of the river and we pass that on generationally. And this is what my grandfather and his father did and my father before that. And this is what my son will do. So I'm charged with turning over what was turned over to me.
Garnsey says he hopes this tradition in the Thousand Islands continues on for generations because it's worth keeping around. Catherine Wheeler, North Country Public Radio in Clayton.
You can see photos of Jeff Garnsey's Goat Locker boat on our website, NCPR. Very swanky, very beautiful. We have more news through the weekend there as well, ncpr.org. Music today by Evan Veenstra of Gananoque, Ontario, and Zoe Knight of Potsdam. Have a super weekend. Story of the day will take off on Monday, Labor Day, and we'll be back on Tuesday. I'm David Summerstein, North Country Public Radio.